Everywhere you looked a few weeks ago, Kathleen Kennedy's retirement, demise, and exit from Lucasfilm was in all the headlines. Now that's gone away, taken away by the oxygen being sucked out of the room by the very sucky Rachel Zegler, who has destroyed cinemas with Snow White. But today, we'll tell you whether or not this has given Kathleen Kennedy a little more light at the end of the Lucasfilm Star Wars tunnel. Hello, folks, and welcome back to the channel that is changing hearts and minds one video at a time, simply by telling the truth with a capital T. Folks, as we get ready to get underway with today's topic, consider clicking the like button, and we're going to like very much getting this panel in front of you. They're all excellent, all ready, and all the time ready to dive into what's going on with Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm. All right, here's the article out of Living Life Fearless. I won't tell them that that's actually fearlessly. We'll let them find out about adverbs later. Kathleen Kennedy deserves better from Star Wars fans. Near the end, that's not an adverb, that's an adjective. Near the end, get your grammar right, pro. Near the end of February, the trades reported two contradictory things about the plans of Kathleen Kennedy, the veteran Hollywood executive. Whoops.
Stop. No, they didn't.
Stop the presses. What did they say, Lauren?
The two stories said the same thing. One had spin, the other did not.
Oh, all right. Fair enough. On February 25th, Variety, citing early reporting from Puck. Hey, YouTube, it's P-U-C-K. Puck, hockey puck, reported that Kennedy planned to step down as president of Lucasfilm at the end of 2025. Deadline's Michael Fleming, 2 days later, got Kennedy on the record and reported that the executive has been working on succession plan for a couple of years, eyeing candidates from within in process with Bob Iger and Alan Bergman. And, well, like Lauren said, it was the same story, spun a little differently.
Go back there, too.
Yes.
It also says, while another called the report pure speculation. Note that's not a denial.
Hey, exactly.
Indeed.
If we go down here, it talks about the rocky tenure that Kennedy has had. Folks, if you want to go read it, we'll put the link out there. But here's what I would say. This is one of the only articles currently dealing with Kathleen Kennedy. But before Snow White, all of the oxygen in the Disney room was being sent over to Kathleen Kennedy because there was such speculation about will she or won't she, and when will she. Mm-hmm. And it looked as if, and Lauren is exactly spot on, even when they denied, they didn't deny. And well, I still think that she's probably going to resign, maybe in January of next year, just so she can really stick it to P-U-C-K, Puck, Mr. Bellany. Panel, did the Snow White and the Rachel Zegler debacle that's playing out before us, did this give a little breathing room to Kathleen Kennedy to kind of get how her exit is going to be in line? Did this give any kind of... Lauren, I'll let you give your take first, and we'll go to Brett. Take it away, Lauren.
I want to know how this works in your mind. How is it that you think that this provides Kathleen with a lifeline? You've got two people that have produced garbage. That's more garbage. I don't see how you can go and say that, well, this garbage is much better than this other garbage. I don't want garbage. I don't want garbage anywhere. And in that story, it also quotes her saying, I want to make very clear, I am not retiring. It's like, well, there's a difference between retiring and being retired. And
there's also a difference in retiring and being moved somewhere else into your own company.
Yeah, I my feeling is that they're past the. Again, they also talked about the fact that there's this story that came out that they were looking to sell Star Wars, and I still don't believe that that's the correct angle. They're not looking to sell Star Wars. They're looking to value Star Wars to find out how damaged it is. And my guess is that's part of the case that they're going to make to say it is now time to make a hard turn. Our two biggest properties that were making us or that we intended to make us all the money are now failing badly and publicly. They are a laughing stock and everybody knows it. Nothing is working for them right now, so they have to make changes. And I think that that's part of what's going on here. They're doing the research to justify the actions that they're going to take. They're going to have to figure out how to spin it. My guess is that they're going to be very complimentary when Celebration comes up here next month. I expect she's going to be doing the press tour kind of thing and the award shows and all of that stuff. She's damaged goods. Nobody likes her anymore.
Well, let me explain a little bit on what I was talking about. I'm going to hand it to Brett to see what he thinks about it. There are 2 dumpster fires here. There are 2 dumpster fires, and nobody's doubting the dumpster fires. One has, it's been lit by diesel, let's say, and the other is Zegler, is as if the cosmos has somehow dropped a literal supernova and created a fission reactor inside the dumpster, right? And so the one that's just powered by diesel, by some sort of combustible flame, it's looking pretty good to have that dumpster fire now. And so maybe it's taking the pressure off Kathleen Kennedy. Maybe it feels nice to not have those questions as a barrage every day versus what it was before Zegler did what she did. Brett, am I wrong, right? And somewhere in between?
No, I mean, I think what they're really good at these days is most of these companies are very, very good at using their own internal stories to shift where the headlines are going. So I was actually like, when they started talking, the article you guys were referring to earlier, the 2 different takes on Kathleen Kennedy stepping down in succession. If I remember correctly, they came out just as Brave New World was failing. And I was like, I wouldn't have been surprised if they dumped these articles now to get all of the press off of how bad Captain America was doing at that time. And all of this also connects back to the lawsuit that's going on with Gina Carano and how all of that is going to play out in the end. I don't buy that she's just stepping down willy-nilly now. I would imagine that if it happens, it's going to be not this year, next year. I would imagine that it would be the year after.
It's interesting. When we look at that, the Variety article, right, that had a lot of information about Rachel Zegler and so forth, it did mention in there, like you said, like you alluded to, Brett, that because of the Gina Carano lawsuit, it's why I didn't do anything with Rachel Zegler. Do we think that's officially why Disney seems to be very scared of its talent? Well, yeah. Talent like Kathleen Kennedy, talent like Rachel Zegler, or is there another reason forbidding them from maybe, bringing in the reins on this talent just a little bit?
I mean, I can't imagine. Like, I still find this shocking to me. We talked about this today. I said, look, back in the day, if you imagine what it was like, if we're just talking about the talent here, what it was like 40 years ago for an actor to absolutely blow up a multi-million-dollar property, they would have had to put out a press release with an agent or a manager who would be held liable, or they'd have to go into the heart of Times Square and yell something absolutely insane, right? Now, every actor walks around with a WMD in their pocket that can potentially destroy billion-dollar properties with one drunk post on social media, and there aren't guidelines put into place by these companies, some form of contract negotiation that limits their ability to talk about specific issues. There isn't media training that is done. I still believe, for the most part, when she made the comments that she made at D23, that those were actually talking points that they talked about when they pitched that movie to her. So when she says the stupid stuff, sorry, I will not talk. When she says the stupid stuff about not being saved by the prince, Gal Gadot was saying all the same things. She didn't get any of the flack for that. Nobody cared that Gal Gadot said that. She skated on all of that stuff. I don't buy for a moment that wasn't part of what they were talking about there. But I think it was Chris Gore said at one point, he said, the first thing I would do if I was making a big budget movie, I would ask for their social media logins and say, if you want to be on this movie, you give me your login, you're out for the time being until this thing is released.
They used to have ethics clauses attached to a lot of this stuff. Maybe bringing that back might not be the worst idea in the world. Kevin,
hey Brett, what do you think about it's in the report though, right? The one that talks about Zegler having put Gal Gadot's life in danger. Part of that article talks about how Disney convinced her late. I'm talking about, this was maybe 6 months ago, right? This was after the Trump post when she took on Orange Men Bad. Disney convinced her to accept a social media guru. This is years of her being detrimental to the project. And it took then, and by the way, it says that they sent the director again. They sent Mr. Platt again to go convince her to allow a social media guru. And when I'm reading that, I'm thinking either A, what they did was they went and said, Zegler, you're in breach of contract and there are about to be consequences, and that's how they convinced her. Or B, they had to beg her to do something that wasn't originally in the contract. Neither of those is a good situation for Disney to be in, because from the very beginning, when you've got a young starlet, it's too much for the average person to have this kind of responsibility where you've got this scope and scale of people reading everything you do, and to give that to Zegler. Well, good Lord, like from day one, from this first second she's announced as Snow White, somebody should be there watching over her and helping her make good decisions that are positive for the company. None of that existed. It makes me wonder, does that not exist for anyone else? Because the worst person you could not give a helper for is Rachel Zegler.
Yeah.
I would argue that it was probably there from the beginning, and culture changed around them. Because they thought it was going one way. Again, I agree wholeheartedly. She was given those talking points before she went out and opened her mouth at D23. The only reason Gal Gadot got through it is because she is more mature and more likable.
Way more likable.
Yeah, and she didn't say it first. You know, she jumped on and then scooted on out. And then Rachel, because she's a youngin', they probably gave her a bunch of people who are roughly in her age bracket, who all had the same mentality. They coached her on what to say and what to do. They let her run wild, and they only tried to put a leash back on her because it got inconvenient. And that's the only reason there was a moment of crisis. She got really inconvenient when they realized, oh, wait, we lost the plot. People are not into this, and we need to shut her up, and she's been emboldened. I don't think a brand new starlet gets this out of control without being told it's okay. They lit the fuse. They should not be shocked that the bomb went off and did a bunch of damage in the process.
Well, look, Melissa Barrera did something similar, and they just fired her from Scream 7. They're like, you're gone, bye. And she made posts today supporting Rachel Zegler, and it's like they're in their own support group. They're the group of people who can't shut up before their stuff comes out. It's kind of shocking to me that these companies didn't have these kind of protocols in place long before all of this. But I think you're 100% correct. That culture did shift rapidly around them leading up to the 2024 election. And we're seeing it now with all the movies that are coming out, where everyone's like, this movie looks like a movie that was supposed to come out if Kamala Harris won the election, G20 to be specific, with Viola Davis, movies like that, where they don't look like they were made for the time period they're coming out in, which is why it's funny. Like, you're not going to see the shift until after this presidency is over. You're not going to see a shift because it's going to take so long to get the next movie out. But she could be used in industry as a cautionary tale of what the absolute worst possible case scenario can be. It's like, look, you can have your principles. You can have your political beliefs that you hold dear. Do you want to make money? Do you want a long career in this business? They handed her all of those options at the age of 20. And I dislike the argument of people saying she was too young to understand. I was like, if she's young, if she's old enough to sign a multi-million-dollar contract and to make it where she did in an industry, by that time, she'd already done West Side Story. She was building herself up as a known commodity. She can't be held liable for the successes, but then given a pass for the failures, especially when you consider the fact that this is years of this stuff going on. But Disney is not without fault for not just putting the foot down sooner.
Guys, I'm going to be in a very uncomfortable position to defend Rachel Zegler. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
There is, I think, an appropriate defense to say that there's something that smells badly when Mark Ruffalo can go out and do the things he does. When Mark Hamill can go out and say the things that he says. When you have people in Hollywood who get away with saying such terrible and awful things. Pedro Pascal has done some of those sorts of things, and they're rewarded. And Zegler, as a young girl, and Michelle of Force of Light has made this point, Zegler, as a teenager, may have looked at that and said, this is the way that I win. And she wasn't ready for the winds to change. And Lauren's going to take it away. Lauren, I was hesitant to defend her. I know I'm in a dangerous spot, and now your intellect is going to wipe me out. Do it, Lauren. Do it.
Here's why. There are certain people that have a career in Hollywood that they are established and they have made their names. They're a draw no matter what. They have FU money.
Darn it, you're right, and I know it.
She is not in that position.
I
She is
rescind.
somebody who is not even a journeyman yet. She's an intern. You don't get to run your mouth like that when people aren't coming to see the movie to see you. They're coming to see Snow White.
She's the winged virtue, Lorne. She's the winged virtue.
I think I'm going to defend her just one more time.
Bash,
One more
don't do it.
time.
I did it, and I don't like it anymore.
Well, I know, I get it.
Walk with trepidation, sir. You're on shaky ground.
I understand. If we remember, Zegler made those original comments at D23 Expo in 2022, right? But those weren't really highlighted until I think 8 months to a year later. It took a little bit of time for those to make the rounds. I remember hearing a theory about the timeline associated with that, suggesting that people associated with the film knew the film was garbage and wanted to separate themselves and survive in Hollywood. And one of the theories that I heard was they themselves highlighted those comments so that the failure of the movie would be pinned on her and not them.
And let's
because
not
Lauren,
forget-
she is in a vulnerable position, doesn't know much about how this industry and how this industry works. Does that make her necessarily vulnerable to something like that?
It doesn't matter. Her job's to entertain. The movie's job is to entertain. Did they make a good movie? Are they taking the criticism in a constructive way?
They are not.
Well, then the backlash is on them.
Yeah. Also, Mark Ruffalo was not the star of these movies when this was happening, and Pedro Pascal, for some reason they have a fetish to just force him on you no matter what. And he was a known quantity in Hollywood for a decade prior. He was just a TV actor before he got his big break.
Well, the quota system. He appears to be. Anyway, Nolan, you want to get a thought in? I'll let you drop it on in.
I just wanted to say, going back to that original interview, we are all very aware of Rachel Zegler and her personality. But let's not forget what she said, where she's like, we might cut the prince out of the movie. I don't think that was an opinion. She was hearing ramblings on the set. She might have drank the Kool-Aid, but she wasn't the one that made the Kool-Aid. At the end of the day, this all goes back to Disney. They're the ones who started this whole mess.
And like you said, we're kind of focusing on her political comments. I would argue that her comments about the story were the ones that bothered people more. And I don't think Mark Ruffalo ever the Hulk kind of sucks. I don't know if he was ever saying anything like that.
We could cut Captain America out and who would even notice? He never did that. By the way, folks, I said the winged virtue. Clearly, I was wrong. It's the winged victory that you can find at the Louvre as you're making your way to the Mona Lisa. But in the case of Zegler, you can understand why I called it the winged virtue, because that's probably what she believes she is. Kevin, any final thoughts?
I think everybody nailed it. I think Kathleen Kennedy got a little tiny reprieve in getting beaten up in the press. Absolutely. But do I think that her that she has a proverbial sword of Damocles hanging over her head and it's going to drop any moment? 110%. I'd also point out she made it a point to say she's not retiring from making movies. That doesn't mean she's not retiring from her current job. The clock is ticking. They know she's got to go, but she knows where the bodies are buried. So we have to play this very, very carefully. That's all I got. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
Probably in Leslie Headland's backyard. Lorne, final question goes to you, sir. When's Kathy going to be out?
Personally, I do think that it's going to be either October or no later than February next year, is my opinion. For the simple fact that we know that she did extend her contract, but they did not give a date. They didn't want to talk about it this year. I don't think they necessarily want her to be gone exactly this year, but I don't think there's another contract extension.
All right. Well, there you go, folks. Predictions have been made, and I guess I've been schooled by the panel today.
Can I ask a question before we go? Does the success, if Mandalorian and Grogu at the theaters ends up being a big success, does that help her, or is it too late?
Lauren's got the answer on that.
I don't think it helps her because I don't see where The Mandalorian goes from here. They have so many different disparate storytelling threads that they've got going on. I think they wanted to tie it all into Ahsoka and Thrawn, but Ahsoka was a disaster, and their version of Thrawn was a disaster. And if it all still leads to the sequel trilogy anyway, none of that stuff matters. So I personally feel, while I would love to see The Mandalorian be a success because I enjoyed the first 2 seasons, the 3rd season really killed it for me. So I don't see how the movie can be a success. They already pretty much ended it in season 3. So what are you going to do with it?
They're going to recast Rey as Rachel Zegler on the way out. That's what she's going to do.
Vicious. This baby to bed. This video is over. Turn off the lights, but not quite yet, folks, because we do ask one final thing before we say goodbye, and that is, would you consider clicking the like button, share, subscribe, click it and stick it to those algorithms. It is the notification bell, and drop a comment down below. Also greatly appreciated, anytime you would like to share this out on your favorite social media platforms, well, we would love that, and we'd also love to hear your thoughts. Folks, drop a comment down below and use that beautiful mind of yours. If you would not mind, we'd love to know what you're thinking. Also, if you would like to become a member of the channel, it's as simple as clicking the join button. It is the price of a soda per month, and you'll gain access to all kinds of new, cool, exclusive information. Folks, until the next time we have the honor of spending time with you, keep learning, keep growing, and as always, keep having fun.
Why listen to music made by people and companies who really don't like you? Check out Vacation Radio today and prepare for all new content made by the people behind the WDW Pro Channel. It's the place you need for all the music. That should be fun. Hundreds of songs, every genre you can imagine. Listen live on YouTube and enjoy a set list that's always sunny. It's Vacation Radio. What are you waiting for? Every WDW Pro video has a link to Vacation Radio in the video description. Try it out and subscribe today.